Beyond Meat, fries, cheese, and gravy. All right, speaking of gravy, let's pour some on it. Here we go. TLO, Tommy Lemaire in his Corvette, initiating the first outside zone, drops it right in. Brandon Sorensen in the chase position. Look at the speed by comparison. You know, it's hot. We got good grip. Again, the track has been cleared. They did have some practice runs right before this, as Chris Forsberg was talking about. Brandon Sorensen just dipping that back left in. This outside zone 4, this was a real point of interest in the driver's meeting. How do you approach that? Pro spec compared to pro. Again, the tire size, the side bite, navigating it, coasting in, being on power, timing it just right, exiting out of outside zone 3, going into 4.
Yeah, Tommy Lemaire out in the lead on this one, really solid and kind of just a generally safe run while still doing an amazing job of filling the zone. So he's kind of setting this standard, setting a precedent as we kick things off, where Brandon Sorensen having to cut some line in a few spots, and there's Tommy adding a little bit more angle through outside zone 3 to make sure he's filling all that requirements and then maybe not getting both wheels through. So I would say definitely got a few areas where he needs to go deeper in these zones, but all together nice and flowy, getting the decel done where he needs to. That transition maybe coming a bit close there to that zone. The judges do want the transition maybe a bit earlier. Get your decel done, get back on throttle as soon as possible, and then outside zone 4, which became a massive point last night. It was another talking point in the drivers' meeting this morning. A lot of people focusing on that zone because it's the way you finish the run. You want to finish strong.
And 1 and 4 are really points of interest because there's no walls. 2 and 3, you have the walls that are going to kind of keep you within the boundaries, but you got dirt that could bite back. Here goes Brandon Sorensen initiating. Tommy Lemaire tucking into that smoke. Brandon really well executed. I want to see that overhead view, almost like he almost exceeded that initiation on the outside zone, but Brandon brings it in. That's a little smooch there, a little kiss on the forehead there from Brandon Sorensen on that outside zone 3, bringing it outside zone 4. Love that view from Justin Smash, our FPV pilot, and Aaron. So we have 2 different drone angles, and I love this, just utilizing all the different angles, because one is a bit more static and high, and one is definitely like a video game, and that's Justin Smash. Take a look at it again.
Yeah, you can get a bit of different information from each drone, which is great, but this overhead is amazing to see the line, and we can see there that Brandon kind of came out of that just a touch early and then dips a wheel out in the second outside zone. Tommy doing a great job in the chase to mirror. Look at that, locks it in there, has to come out of the zone a touch early in the chase, but then Brandon outside zone 4, very solid.
I like that.
Judges really want those tires lit off before you're getting into the zone. At the absolute latest, they should be spinning as you're getting into the zone. But yeah, just a little bit early out there from Brandon on the first outside zone. Tommy through the second, I would argue, maybe had a bit better on the chase. So making it tough on the judges right out of the gate with this driving that we're seeing. So yeah, it's good. They had a lot of practice. A lot of drivers talking about how much practice they got before Top 32 even kicked off. So to me, that means we're going to get some crazy battles getting this going.
I liked how aggressive Brandon was, even though he did exceed that second outside zone. I liked how he initiated on 1, how he executed 4. So hats off to Brandon Sorensen, but Tommy Lemaire just had that slight edge over him. So TLO, Tommy Lemaire in his rookie year, jumping over. Sorry, what am I talking about? Yeah. Sorry, totally glitched right there. Tommy Lemaire in his rookie.
He's driving so well.
I know, right? I mean, he did so well in pro spec. Just thinking about it, as I just talked about it moments ago. But Tommy Lemaire, he just speaks softly and speaks French. All right, well, there we are looking at Jonathan Castro and Jack Shanahan. Dominican Republic versus Ireland, Toyota versus BMW, 2 very talented drivers. Jonathan Castro getting his first ever podium, and here we are into that first outside zone. As we now go into that second outside zone, now into, you can see Shanahan tucking in to the side of the 86. Man, that BMW is small, but it makes that 86 look small as well. The Methyl Dom 86, and that last outside zone, he slides on in, and Shanahan tucks in. Man, the chase run there by Shanahan, he was working some magic with the fever lever there, using that handbrake and just massaging it on into the side of the 86.
Yeah, he does an amazing job here in the chase. Look at how early Jack gets on that initiation, and it takes Castro just a little bit longer, and then transitioning to the second outside zone. There's Jack all over him, getting mirroring quite well, getting the proximity, getting the line. I mean, Jack could have been a little bit deeper in the chase there. Castro maybe a tight, shallow, but both drivers drivers really throwing down here. It's that quintessential for a good chase. You need a good lead. The only part that was needs maybe a little bit work is Jack got to that initiation super early, but in comparison to where Jonathan Castro did, which I think was just a little bit later on through it. So maybe anticipated that Castro was going to get the car sideways earlier in the run than he did, but adapts quite well, gets that proximity back. The Shanahan's ability to time transitions is just wild to me.
Yeah, you've really pointed that out, and I've seen that with Connor, but just, you know, Jack just has this different style and way about it than even Connor. You know, and obviously they're both the Shanahan brothers and the boys, but Jack has a different way of doing and going about it. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger exactly on it, but it just has that certain punch up that Connor has.
Yeah, Connor really likes to get in tight for the transition, whereas Jack will fall back a little bit and then dive in. Connor, he's running bumpers every time.
All right, like I said, couldn't put my finger on it. It sounds like the Canadian fingers. Here we go, Mr. Shanahan leading now, and Castro into the second outside zone. You can see Shanahan, good angle. Want to see that overhead view of placement of Castro's car. Looks like he's a little late to the party. Outside zone 3, now transition to outside zone 4. That's what we're talking about. So you saw that handbrake. See how he coasted in outside zone 4? They really want to see him light off into it, but that's that compromise. The judges said, look, this is what we're expecting. We know you can't potentially do exactly that, but get as close as possible to it. Are you going to set the bar low because that's where it's at? No, you set the bar high. You go for the world record, right? If you're going to jump a bunch of BMWs, if you're going to set the record on a motorcycle, you're going to jump. You're not just going to do a little bunny hop.
Yeah, the judges set the expectations really high, and what's interesting is how often the drivers will meet and supersede that in a lot of cases. But Jack Shanahan out front does a really good job here. Stable, could have been a little bit deeper through outside zone 2, and it kind of chokes up Jonathan Castro in the chase there. Now, it wasn't anything that Jack had done, just Castro wasn't getting the timing quite right, had to pull a lot of angle out of that car in order to get back into it, and we'll highlight that a little bit more here. So big fade out there for Jack. Car looks really floaty, looks, you know, much easier to drive than what he saw before. And then right here, it looks like just Castro understeers and plows the front end of that car through, not able to get the car back out to angle, and then has to play catch up through the rest of the run.
Well, I'm going to interject because we did get some communication here from Lorette via messaging. She said Castro in practice damaged his arm, suspension, knuckles, and the subframe was bent. So Castro was battling that. So hence why the feedback was there. So Castro gets his first ever podium in New Jersey, but Jack Shanahan, he's stoked. Again, he is another rookie this year, and this car is lifted up. That's not where it needs to be. 20 seconds on the clock. I don't think this is going to happen for Daniel Stuckey, and I am seeing sans the graphics on the side. I think there were some shakeups there, as you were telling me, and it's got Kenda tires on it, but now it's got 2 seconds, and Stuckey has been doing a great job, and unfortunately that is time. But look at, still smiling, great attitude, but such a bummer for Stuckey. Throws the hands up, still thumbs up. So Daniel Stuckey, great attitude, and unfortunately we will be moving on without him. So just like that, Shanahan, Castro's out, Stuckey's out, so that'll mean Trenton Beecham will quickly just get a bye run, and then Jack Shanahan defeats Castro, and we are back to the start line again with another rookie. We got Connor O'Sullivan and Jonathan Hurst. O'Sully will lead, as he's quickly known, and the pride of Paducah. Love the attitude of the Mr. Cool Cadillac pilot, Jonathan Hurst. O'Sully at United States Army, BMW initiates. Look at that tire fire. He gets it lit right there and gets on that wick on that second outside zone. Jonathan Hurst, he applies the pressure, has to back off a little bit now to outside zone 3. He digs deep there, talking about O'Sullivan in that lead. And look at that, nice massaging into that last outside zone. Well executed by O'Sullivan. And Jonathan Hurst in that chase position, you saw him kind of go back and forth. It wasn't consistent all the way through. You saw some good proximity, have to back off, mimic the angle. So, you know, overall, you know, not only are we scrutinizing these runs, calling the action, but most importantly, our 3 judges. We got Vernon Zvanveld, Brian Egger, and Reese Marin, our 3 judges for this round. Again, Brian and Reese, the entire season, Vernon splitting the duty with Robin Ishida.
Yeah, so taking a look at this, I mean, both these drivers are very, very close. They're great friends and pit together, so they know what each other is going to be able to throw down. And Connor out here really pushing to the edge of the track throughout the entire run, taking a nice wide swinging line. It's a beautiful lead run here from Connor. Maybe lights off a little bit later, whereas Jonathan just not able to get settled into how that Connor was driving. The upside when you're that close with somebody you know you can push really hard, and I think Jonathan maybe took a bit earlier of a dive than he needed to, and then couldn't get the timing, couldn't get that tempo set for the rest of the run. And then, you know, by the time it's a quick track, it's less than 30 seconds, so you make that mistake even at the beginning, man,
it's gonna throw you off.
Yeah, it's tough, and there's so much of this that's the tempo, the rhythm of the transition. So just wasn't able to make the sweet music that Hurst was looking for.
Oh, well, this is the rhythm of the night. Is the song I was thinking of right now. The rhythm of the night. Right, here we go. All right, the Mr. Cool Cadillac of Jonathan Hurst. O'Sully quickly gets to the side, and that's that fluidity that you're talking about. And look, he comes out of the smoke and dives on in, almost rubber-to-rubber contact. That could definitely throw them for a tailspin, literally and figuratively. In that third outside zone, O'Sully now dives in on Jonathan Hurst, and he gets involved with that dirt and about control across the finish line. Oh, we got a little bullfight right now. So the Cadillac's it's like bang, bang right there from the Mr. Cool Cadillac.
Yeah, it's just wanting to continue to push all the way through the line, and really Hurst just came into outside zone 4 with just a little bit too much speed. It pushes him wide, and by the time he lit off the tires, that was pretty much it. So, you know, like I said, these are good friends. They pit together. There's always back and forth. If you had a chance to take a look at the socials for FD this week, and Hurst's been running them, and it is a party over there. But let's take a look at this run. There's Hurst, a little bit of a left foot brake to get it out, and then right here, that's where Connor gets in. I mean, O'Sully's just doing such a great job of adapting. And Hurst does provide a pretty solid lead run throughout this entire thing, but these small corrections we see out of O'Sully to get the timing back in, and there it is, just a little bit too much. And then both drivers trying to figure out what they're doing after they get across the line in that contact, and a great shot here. You can see Hurst just gets on that power, pushes him out of the zone a little bit early, and he does adapt quite well through outside zone 2, pushing through 3. Just look at how close O'Sully gets in there on the side of Hurst throughout the zone, but you can see that little bit pushback.
When you say a little too much, on the side of O'Sullivan or Jonathan Hurst? Because again, that yellow line, so point this out too, because the last outside zone 4 is truncated, so you need to have control and drift across the finish line. There goes Jonathan Hurst right there, where that cone is, where he hit that yellow line, that's the finish line.
Right.
We are avoiding going up on the bank. A couple reasons. Don't want to debead and don't want to damage the bank. That's obviously, you know, we have IndyCar, we have NASCAR here, and of course drifting, you know, it could tear it up. But O'Sullivan does get the victory, but elaborate on that if you will, Jacob. Again, was it Hurst pushing too much, O'Sully pushing too much, and again, what's expected from the judges?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, Hurst came into outside zone 4 a little bit too quick, and you'll see that if drivers are in outside zone 3 and they leave a bit early, if they don't fulfill the whole zone, a lot of the times it puts them on a straight line path, means a bit too much speed, can't scrub it, next thing you know, you're in the dirt.
Well, we are quickly advancing through our top 32. Don't go anywhere.
We discovered that the fans were not working anymore on the car, so we were in a kind of panic mode, and I want to say big thanks to the Hanson's team, because they let me borrow their fan from Chelly's car in Prospect. So we put the fans right on time for top 32, and I knew that Brandon was going to be a great driver, always consistent, really fast, so I wanted to match the speed with him, and we did just enough to get the win, so it's an awesome start.
And now what about the stress level moving forward from top 16? Anything there?
I think each battle that we pass, it's a little bit less weight on my shoulders. So now it's just more fun, and hopefully we can get the next battle, and after that it's going to be only joy.
Well, Jared, you have been announcing for a plethora of different sports. Is there any other sport besides Formula Drift that you can name that actually shares parts with competing drivers? This is what this sport is all about, a lot of heart.
The day. I love plethora. Would you say plethora? Again, the camaraderie here is absolutely infectious, because you could actually have the same car, but as I say, it's not the, you know, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian, you know what I mean? So again, shooting and hitting that target. So it's really great to see, again, the camaraderie within the Formula Drift paddock. I'd say the spec classes, but
yeah,
that's about
that's different. Yeah.
All right, Jeff Jones, Ken Gucci. Jeff Jones, I feel like he is literally one with the trees. He is Groot. I think think he's assumed the power of the forest after New Jersey, and his vehicle looked fantastic. And talk about the camaraderie, building that car, putting it all together, and a testimonial that Lorette just brought up. But Ken Gucci, the OG since 2004, initiates that first outside zone. Jeff Jones actually going a little bit deeper, but did not see any of that dirt gravel machine gun getting sprayed out the back of the Z. We did see some contact there, that back right corner exploding from Ken Gucci. Want to see that overhead view of the big drift energy on the roof. Man, look at that thing throwing a gang sign out back and crossing the finish line. So Gucci and Jones ripping it up here on the first portion of this battle.
Yeah, I mean, that was exciting. I like it. We're getting, the tandem's getting close, which means the body panels start disappearing. So let's take a look at this right off the bat. So Ken Gucci, maybe a little bit slower roll to start, and then Jeff, it just pushing wide. That's it. I mean, Jeff kind of miscalculating there, and then as he gets into the second outside zone, this is where Jeff gets scrappy, gets into the side of Ken, but not phased. I mean, he's got 296 battles under his belt. He does not, he's seen this before. He's read this book, and Ken just keeps going, and there it is. Ken, I mean, Jeff again with a bit of a punch. This is a feisty Jeff Jones. I don't know if I've seen him quite like this.
And again, just, you know, it's almost you have that luxury of looking at it again. I'm trying to react here, watching Ken Gucci, and Jeff definitely got that gravel machine gun, and he definitely put that front left into the back right of Ken Gucci, and just making his presence felt, not leaving it in the judge's hands. And those are the tolerances that we would expect from our pro caliber drivers. So Jeff not backing down, not giving Ken Gucci an inch, but now here it is reversed with kind of those, let's call it what it is, some refinements that need to be cleaned up. Jeff Jones in that chase position. Ken Gucci, if he keeps it clean, keeps it tidy, and you know, has good proximity, obviously has all the elements, he could get it done. But Jeff Jones, we know he is definitely an aggressive driver, and he has the clean air with that Evo AutoWorks Nissan Z. Ken Gucci with the Greddy Toyota GR86.
Sorry, I was just taking a look to see, because in situations like this, they may be afforded a
Nobody
free five, but we called it. Let's just go.
Oh, the comp. Let's just go ahead and send it, baby. USPS. And Jeff Jones does it once again. He lifts that front left. So, and you can see how dramatic it is, and that could really disrupt the car. So, kudos to Jeff Jones for actually maintaining that angle and bringing on.
Oh!
She shuts her down, and that could have been because of the contact. Don't know exactly, but Gucci does not complete the run in the chase position, and that is required. That is going to be an incomplete for Ken Gucci in the chase, and even after all the tumultuous run, you wonder what went wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I love the warrior mentality of just going at it and not calling the five and just driving as hard as you possibly can. But could that 5-minute call saved Ken Gucci in this situation? So let's see if we can break this down and find out what happened. Jeff, I mean, he's consistent, that's for sure. He's going real deep in outside zone 1, transitions to outside zone 2, maybe just a touch late, and Ken on that tighter line. Jeff looking good, pushing out to 3, and then right there, Ken just shuts it down. So yeah, absolutely devastating for a Ken Gucci who looked like he had everything ready to go, and Jeff then gets the free go, nothing behind him throughout that. But really, that was Ken Gucci's battle to lose, and it seems like he did with the shutdown or with the mechanical, because I didn't see anything else that would have happened. I was looking maybe for a D-bead or for something, but something in that car was just not happy, and that was it.
I'm just wildly surprised he didn't call a comp timeout. I mean, I know. Just to inspect it, and the way the car shut down, it didn't seem like, you know, a tire D-beaded, obviously. Belt didn't get thrown, so I just don't know, and I'm a little baffled why Ken did not call a competition timeout. We do have so Jeff Jones gets the win first and foremost, but also, again, spotters are next to us, but some are atop the building. So we're on the 4th floor of race control here, and this is where Jeff comes in hot. Well,
that's what I'm wondering. If something there happened now.
That's what I'm saying, but why did he call a comp timeout?
And
I think his spotter's on the upper deck.
I got to get in here, man.
But we're not going to chase you down.
No.
You know what I mean? We're not going to pursue you. You have to come here into race control and let us know we're calling a comp timeout. So I'm wildly surprised that Ken Gucci and his team did not call a comp.
Oh.
1st and 3rd. All right,
okay.
So finding out.
So that, I mean, in this case, I doubt that contact maybe. You never know, though. Yeah, but yeah, wild. So, I mean, crazy change or crazy Crazy events.
The crazy train.
Crazy train.
All aboard. Hiroya Manoa, again, getting his first ever podium, first ever win, which was absolutely amazing here. Hiroya Manoa going against Austin Mata. So these two, again, look at this new generation of drifters. Truly international, one jumping over from FD Japan and Japan in itself. And here he comes into that first outside zone. He got the victory at round 3. And here he is, tearing it up in front of Austin Mata, that Launchpad Golf on the roof. And Hiroya Manoa, a Juku racing vehicle, into the outside zone 3. Now let's see how it transitions. Very good. Fluid, and Austin Mata, it does not work out for him on that transition. He gets into the dirt and he rotates and comes to a halt. That will be a deficit, as Manoa is just clinical at such a young age, 17 years young.
Yeah, it's incredible to watch how he's able to drive so much further beyond his years, but there's a pretty sizable left foot break there for Manoa, and then Mata having to battle back. So into the second outside zone, things look pretty solid here. Mata starting to close up that gap as they go into the third outside zone, and then even more angle added there for the young Japanese driver, but then Mata just not able to get the timing right outside zone 4. So I do know, a big left foot break or a big decel on outside 1 is a kind of contentious topic right now. So we'll see if the judges put that into perspective as they go through the rest of this run. But yeah, Mata, who did have a pretty good hit in practice earlier, did get taken a look at. So is there what's going on there? I saw his hand wrapped up. So yeah. Mata battling through something else as well. But I mean, he is a true warrior, back out on track, ready to go.
Literally, he's in a tribe, the Native American, one of the tribes supports him. It's really cool to see that. And we just got a quick glimpse there of Ben Hobson. The hood was off his vehicle. I wonder what's going on there. Something's afoot. Austin Mata initiates into that first outside zone. And where is Manoa? No problem. He dives out of that smoke. Now, he needs to apply the pressure, keep it consistent, doesn't need to do anything fancy because, unfortunately, as you said, Austin, he is dealing with a hurt wrist, and he spun out. You wonder if that came into play. So earlier in the accident, I saw him up here in the tower. His wrist was all wrapped up, and I said, how you feeling? He said, all right. And speaking of feeling all right, Ben Hobson pulling out, that's a sign of a good time. Now keep in mind, Ben Hobson, sophomore season with that Mustang, has had some good luck, some bad luck, but guess what? He's going against Osbo in 32.
Yeah, Austin Mata out here looking really good. Another bit of a left foot break there. So something to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this event. Very similar to what we saw with Manoa. Now, Hiro able to close up the gap here. Very similar to what Mata did as well. Both drivers adding that bit of extra angle coming out of outside zone 3 and into 4. Mata gets on that throttle, and Manoa pretty far back, so kind of interesting. Not sure if the judges are going to be looking for a side-by-side, but I know I would be, because that was a much tighter battle than I think some people are expecting. Listen, I mean, Mata's been in the game for a long time. Yep. He's actually won his and received his pro license for multiple times now, yeah, and decided take a step back, really hone his craft before making the jump into pro, and another driver battling for that Rookie of the Year. It's just a cool thing. So let's take a look. BC Racing custom coilover side by side, and let's try and break this down and see what the differences are. So I mean, both drivers pretty close in kind of different waves to the first outside zone. Second outside zone, Mata getting really deep there. And then, I mean, the tandem's pretty similar going into 3. And both drivers adding that little bit of extra angle. And then the chase is really where it starts to separate out, where Manoa pretty far back, but then Mata incomplete. So,
but I think what the judges are really focusing on is outside zone 4 did, and I'm going to kind of talk to the judges while I'm talking to you, but did Manoa impede on the flow of Mata and causing him to?
Interesting.
I think that might be a point of contention as well, and that's what the judges were really talking to in depth in the drivers meet, and the drivers were inquiring about that.
Yeah.
What's the best line? What are you expecting? And we want to kind of just flow into that outside zone 4.
Well, and where the decel is too, right? If you're changing momentum in a place that the judges have not indicated is a good place to do it, and that chase driver is expecting you to do it in there, and you don't, or you do it somewhere different, that is very, very difficult to chase. And the idea of this layout and the big principle when it comes to judging this year is let's make these runs as chaseable as possible. Let's make them predictable. Let's make things wide and floaty. And the lead driver's job is to open the door and provide an opportunity for that chase driver. If that did not happen, that goes against them in the judging criteria.
And again, hats off to Manoa. His you know, breakout season last year against James Dean here in St. Louis. So, you know, as it is definitely hot outside, it is a cold place right here. We're putting the judges on ice. And Reese Marin, hats off to him if you did not hear, as Reese making some history. Reese, one of the judges, he competes in the U.S. Drift Street League and won the event just last weekend. So I believe, statistically speaking, he is the first ever, I know he is, he's the first ever Formula Drift judge to win an event while concurrently being a Formula Drift judge. So I think that's a contribution to the judging prowess and what is expected of drivers, as he is a driver himself. So very cool. So judges review in a little bit. So let's take a look, and waiting for the verdict from the judges. Manoa or Austin Mata. Again, Austin spinning, rotating, both the judge waiting. To me, I thought it was pretty clear cut, but I like that they're analyzing this to set precedents for the entirety of the event.
Yeah, for sure, and that's a huge thing. Real
quick, let's throw it down to Reese Marin here, talking over our side-by-side.
Yeah, we can see both drivers coming into outside zone 1, then we're going into outside zone 2. Right here, everything's looking pretty solid. We are looking into outside zone 4. As we did say, we want the car to light off, and if the driver is close enough and you light off late, that could potentially mess up the flow. So all the judges are going to look at that. I can see that we may go a different way on this, but it's definitely what we talked over in the drivers' meeting, and we're going to place a judgment call based off of what we've seen in outside zone 4, and we'll see who gets the win.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys called it. I mean, it was pretty clear cut in the drivers' meeting as well, and we're early in top 32, as you said. Want to set that precedent as we get our judges' decision.
Analyzing it and scrutinizing it, and it looks like the outcome. Oh, look at this! And again, it looked like Reese was siding with Mata, so he, again, setting precedents here. But it was 2-1. And Reese, you still have your headset on. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so when it came to me going into outside zone 4, I feel like Mata was doing a good job in the chase, and he was able to get into the pocket. Manoa lit off late in outside zone 4, and I felt like that's what contributed to Mata having the spin out. The other judges didn't see it that way, so respectfully, they placed the judgment call in a different matter. So in this case, Manoa gets the win.
Thank you so much. Hiroya Manoa, like I said, had his breakout round here last year against James Dean, and now we are taking a look at our next battle, and that will be Dylan the Dozer Hughes versus Nick Novak. Dylan Hughes, who finished 12th in New Jersey. Nick Novak, he had to fight for his spot here in seating brackets. Dylan, the royal purple BMW in that first outside zone. Nick Novak tucks in. A little more modern of a, you know, very, actually same years of BMWs now. Oh, and Dylan Hughes, you see it come a little unwound going to outside zone 3. Maybe anticipated being deeper into the outside zone. Now, a lot of handbrake there coming in, and again, then lighten it up about the halfway point. But again, want to analyze that. Going from outside zone 3 to 4, I think that's going to be, just as we just saw, a point of focus.
Yeah, the latter half of this track is pretty massive. It really, a lot of these decisions are coming down to the last half, but first outside zone looks good there for Dylan. Really hangs onto that angle for a long time. It makes the transition kind of late into outside zone 2, but Nick Novak doing a good job of keeping everything sorted, and then starts to reel him in as we get into our 4th outside zone. There's Dylan Hughes, a bunch of angle, lighting off a little bit late, but no incident caused there. I'd say Nick Novak kind of keeping a car's width, if you will, all the way through this run, kind of safe. Would like to see him be a bit more aggressive, but maybe this is what he's planning. Maybe he's going, I got something in my back pocket for the lead run. I'm going to throw down something wild so I can be a bit safer on the chase.
He's got it in his Nick Novak pocket.
Nick Novak pocket.
And Nick Novak will be leading. Dylan the Dozer Hughes chasing him down. Let's see what Novak has. Nick's been driving really, really well this weekend. I think this track suits his driving style. Again, the all outside zones. He places the car properly, and he's got really great angle. Dylan with the attack in outside zone 1, slowly creeping up to the side of him, allows that transition in front of him. Novak, the degree of angle there, comes out of it a little bit, so very similar to what Dylan Hughes did on his first run. Now in outside zone 3, Dylan with great proximity, now outside zone 4. See that quick little stabs of the handbrake as opposed to just yanking on it, causing that car to slide, because when you pull that handbrake, you'll see it stop, and that causes the back end to actually slide out towards that back end, so that'll just work its way on in there. Again, you want to be lit on that throttle and power into the outside zone 4, staying consistent as possible. That's what the ideal.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agreed. First outside zone here from Nick Novak looks solid. He's carrying a good chunk of speed into the second outside zone, transitioning just a touch late, but that kind of kick to the wall there allows Dylan Hughes to regain that proximity, get back into the battle, and the transition out to 4. As Jared said, yeah, just a quick grab of the handbrake, but he was a bit shallow on there. May have actually done a bit better by holding on. So you'll see a lot of drivers after transition will just grab the e-brake really quick. When I've talked to them about it, they say it's to settle the car out, get the suspension kind of back into a neutral position. But in this case, Dylan Hughes.
Dylan Hughes gets the victory. Great driving by Dylan the Dozer Hughes. He gets it done in that royal purple BMW. Nick Novak, some great driving. And, you know, that was a pretty close one. I would just say that refinement of Dylan the Dozer Hughes and the eagerness. I felt like he was just right there. He's aggressive, but just really tempering and dialing it back. So not going all the way to 10, just that 9.5 on the Richter scale. So well done by Dylan the Dozer Hughes. Unfortunately, Nick Novak knocked out. And with every battle, there's always a winner and there's always a loser. We're officially halfway through our top 32, so don't go anywhere when we come back. More Formula Drift Jersey, Ben Hobson. You can see the stats here. What? Since 2020, these guys have never gone against each other?
Yeah, it seems to be the case, man.
I mean, sophomore season here for Ben Hobson, and this, I'll tell you what, this is a perfect opportunity to gain some confidence. He knows what Frederick Osbo is capable of. He knows he's going to have a clean driving, and he knows what he is capable of as a driver. So here we go, Ben Hobson, Frederick Osbo, and Ben Hobson, he's got Osbo's face on his wheels, so he's going to put it right to him. Stick it to the wall, stick it to the door, stick it to the side of the Supra. Outside zone 2, here they go. Frederick Osbo, look at Ben Hobson diving in. This is exactly what I was anticipating, expecting. Frederick Osbo with a solid, good, dynamic lead run. Drifts right on the outside zone 4. Ben Hobson in tow, across the finish line. Very clinical, good, clean, nothing extracurricular as Frederick Osbo's team looking on.
Yeah, it's exactly how you want this to go. Frederick Osbo out front laying down an incredible run while Ben Hobson is given all the opportunity in the world to plant that Mustang on the side of the Supra through every zone. So first outside zone gets a little bit out of sorts there from Ben, but gets it completely dialed in for the second outside zone. Even maybe a bit of a wheel tap there. So get into our third, and there's Freddie just steady Eddie all the way through. Good transition there, nice and floaty out, and then Ben able to start to reel him in a little bit more at the end of that. So Freddie, I mean, getting these lead runs absolutely like dialed at this point, right off the bat, right out of practice he was like this, so it's just a continuation. Now they're going to swap it around. Ben had a pretty good chase. How can he take the momentum and stick it to Freddie on this one? Look at that.
That's what I was talking about, teasing that. So steady Eddie, shreddy Freddie. Frederick Osbo there on the other side of that big Ford Mustang. So the Penzo RTR, I know Captain Clutch Kick, and this is a big confidence booster for Ben Hobson. His sophomore season has, you know, just some peaks and valleys. We know he's a talented driver. He won the Pro Spec Championship 3 years ago. Sophomore season for him. Now he's got the clean air, and he's got a very capable machine. Here goes Ben Hobson, initiates. I know they're having some issues. The throttle was sticking earlier. That's why the hood was off. So now coming to second outside zone. Frederick Osbo gives him a lot of room, lacking the angle. Ben Hobson, massive angle into outside zone 3. Frederick Osbo trying to nose in, massage the outside zone 4. There goes Ben Hobson. Quick little drift. Freddie's face goes around and crosses that finish line.
Yeah, this is crucial for both drivers and for the teams as well, because for Ben Hobson, he would love nothing more than to give James Dean a bit more of a lead in that championship. Let him rank up those points. If he can knock out Freddie early, that is massive to the championship here. But Freddie, he's got to keep this winning streak going. So
boy,
let's see. I mean, yeah, gets it. And Ben is he is pedaling that car. He is really pushing it to get as far out to that zone as he can. But yeah, Freddie right there.
What is Freddie doing out back?
I don't know,
dude. He did an RSVP to the party.
No, but I mean, Ben's trying to put everything he possibly can. There was a bit of a shake in the car there near the end of the run. I don't know if he was just throwing a big old clutch kick through that whole thing, but you can see there Ben just trying to. They got that car wicked all the way up, so he's having to fight that because it wants to shoot forward. It wants to get as much speed as it possibly can. And Ben's just trying to keep it at angle with Freddie in the chase. Not as picture perfect as we would have expected. So yeah, this is definitely an interesting battle here from both drivers. going down to the judge's decision. But man, that was fun. That was a fun battle.
That was really good. Again, I think, you know, how you start is how you finish, so quickly like that. And it was definitely aggressive, but Frederick Osbo gets the win unanimously. Some great driving by Ben Hobson, but you know, I think the biggest one is how you start is how you finish. Reese, down to you. It was unanimous Frederick Osbo. Trying to twist the screws. He knows he's going against, but Reese, down to you.
Yeah, like we said before, lead line is always important. We can see when Ben is going into outside zone 1, he's very shallow into outside zone 1, so it really puts Osbo into a really bad position. He was able to adjust to that. He gets back into the flow in outside zone 2. As he goes into outside zone 3, you can see he gets right back into the pocket again, and then he dominates outside zone 4 in the chase. So you can see Ben right there is really shallow in outside zone 1. Osbo is a little bit shaken up and gets back into the pocket as well. Ben doing a good job in the chase as well too, and his counterpart as well, going through outside zone 3. You can see that now they're starting to get closer in proximity, and right here you can see a big difference closing out the layout where Osbo is able to close the door in the proximity there, and Osbo gets the win from all the judges.
Yeah, and you know, Osbo, James Dean, and Adam LZ were Ben Hobson fans, obviously, right there, and James, obviously, his RTR teammate, but obviously not the case here. And like you said, great elaboration, as dynamic and great as it was for Hobson, just not enough taking down our current points leader, 3-time champion, all things included.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So Osbo's got to keep on that run as we now get a really epic battle here. Derek Madison and Connor Shanahan out into our first outside zone.
Yeah, here we go as we are seeing D-Mads out front. Shanahan diving in with that 86. There goes Derek Madison, that coilover depot vehicle outside zone 3. You can see him filling all of it. Connor Shanahan very fluid. Would like to see him be a little more aggressive and what we know, and now bringing across the finish line. Saw your little head. I saw your head bobble there. What do you think?
What we're seeing with Derek Madison in particular is the better the driver he's going against, the better he's been performing. And he's got so much confidence coming out of these other events. He's got a ton of confidence being here in front of the home crowd. And I'm already seeing it, especially on that lead run, because this is a really solid go. And Connor Shanahan playing things safe, and I really don't think that you can. So Derek could have been a little bit deeper through that and held on, but then second outside zone looks very planted, very smooth, gets out there, comes off throttle just a touch, and then pushes out nice and wide to 3, adds a bit of extra angle, and then maybe some hesitation into 4, but really Connor not as close to him as I really would have expected. Connor's almost always door to door with whoever he's going against, no matter what, and kind of playing it a bit safe there against Derek Madison. I know once they swap this around, Derek is going to be pushing as hard as he possibly can. You can see here, Connor's already got the 1 win over Derek in their history, but for Derek, he's got some confidence going into this right now.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got a lot of family, a lot of friends here. This is his home track, like you said. He lives, you know, sleeping in his own bed. That's got to help. You know, you're not traveling across country.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
You know, and here's Connor Shanahan going all the way across country. He's doing double duty. He's doing drift masters, doing FD. You know, he's doing life. And here we go, as they all are, but Connor Shanahan, you can see that yank of the handbrake, and Derek Madison gets into formation, has to back off a little bit there, going to outside zone 2. Good angle now with Connor in the fresh air. Man, look at that, slingshots his way from 2 to 3. Derek Madison, a little shallow on outside zone 3. Shanahan brings on in, and there's that grip. You saw the car grip up and almost jet out and beeline or V-line out of the outside zone 4, but he holds on to it and crosses that finish line.
There's a couple of spots here for Connor where it's just maybe awkward is one way to put it, where the car seems to not have the grip. He's got a ton of wheel speed going, and then all of a sudden it just catches and starts to shoot, and that happens right after first outside zone. So we see the left foot brake there. Connor really fighting that angle on the car and picking up that speed, and then second outside zone looks pretty decent. Derek just trying to keep in the battle, but really when Shanahan gets on the power, when he decides that he wants to grip that car up, it takes off like an absolute rocket. Now that bites him a little bit in outside zone 4, because once he floats out there and then gets back on throttle, he's kind of shallow through that section. So it was a little wonky there, not what I was expecting out of Connor, who seems to be fighting this car a bit more than maybe what he is expecting. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't provide an amazing opportunity for Derek to really get into the pocket, because it is kind of on throttle, car shoots out, and then he's got to slow it back out. So just not as smooth as what we're expecting. Derek Madison fans, full force here in St. Louis.
Yep, it is not D-Nice, that's D-Mads, baby. He is going for it, and he wants to make his hometown proud. So we'll see if Derek Madison, the party shirts, he's got to, again, always an aloha vibe to him. So take a look at our BC Racing side by side.
Yeah, so both drivers really in the lead need a little bit of work, but in a couple of different ways. So for me, Derek wasn't fulfilling all the zones correctly, but he still had a pretty good flow throughout the track, whereas I feel like with Connor, it was kind of like at angle and then not at angle and then would shoot out. And you can see a good example of it right there where he's got to hold that power back. So it's going to be interesting how the judges end up going at this and which direction they're going to go, or, you know, always the opportunity for one more time.
Yeah, and waiting for the verdict. Our judges looks like they're analyzing just a little bit further. Two of the judges putting in, and now three are putting in their decision. Either Shanahan, the Irish driver, Derek Madison, this Midwest St. Louis resident.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we still got one more judge. Reese taking a few extra minutes to really understand what was going on. This is a really massive cause and effect track. When you've only got 4 zones, it's a shorter track. You know, we're less than 30 seconds throughout a lap. Every single little bit means massive. It's not like maybe in Atlanta where we got a lot of zones. You can kind of make up some spots here or there.
Inside clips.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very unique in that regard.
All right, Derek Madison, so one more time. So there it is. So as you said, that's one more time here between Madison and Shanahan, throwing it down to Lorette Nickel. It's hot out there, Lorette.
Oh, it sure is. We are not in the sun right now. We're under the garages trying to get the shade. Freddie, I don't know, do you have a temperature gauge in your car? Do you know how hot it is in there?
Not that I know of. What I do know is Ryan has one, and I think they set a temp record on Thursday, 133 F inside the car.
Absolutely insane. You had told me that today has been a little bit of a slow burn and you're figuring some things out. What are those things?
Driving, you know. Thursday we were struggling in certain corners. We fixed those. Then I started struggling elsewhere. So we've been trying to piece together the lead runs. And now it's starting to click. We had a decent lead against Hobson now. We had an okay chase, but I fell a little bit behind. But he didn't quite have the lead run, so we move on. And it was a very important battle. You know, a part of me wanted Ben to move on. He's an awesome guy, but a bigger part of me is here to try and compete. And we're slowly, luckily, figuring out the track here.
Yeah, of course. And of course, trying to compete for that championship. And he just gained 10 points and jumped across up to the top of the championship. Well done, Freddie.
So Frederick Osbo, his signature smile, his chiseled jaw, and he advances on. All right, Matt Field, this gentleman is always working out. I saw him in the gym this morning. He's doing it, he's doing it all, man. But right now he needs to do it against Dmitry Brutsky, and talking about take him down. Brutsky, some more track time than anybody else out here, because he's doing pro spec, he's doing pro. He got on the box yesterday, but here he is going against Matt Field. And there are the stats. You can see the ages, the numbers, overall. These guys have seen battle. Again, these stats go back to 2020. And 134 matches in just the last 5 years. So Matt Field got the win against Brutsky. So Matt Field, as new as he feels as a driver, he's been campaigning for quite some time. S-Chassis previously, and this most recent Corvette for him, definitely a weapon. Coming to this first outside zone, puts it right there. Oh boy, Brutsky, that dirt fought back, and he goes off course. Matt Field will continue on through the course, and he does need to do that. So now coming into outside zone of 4 and bringing it around. So one of the cameras just getting obliterated there.
Took one out. Yeah, I think we lost
the drone.
Lost the drone.
Smash.
Oh man. Well, I mean, he's got a name for a reason, but yeah, Brutsky still sitting out there. I think I saw a D-bead on that as well. So that is not a great situation for Brutsky, who was trying to hang with Matt Field, who was out of the blocks, just absolutely blazing. And I mean, it was a big initiation fight. It was really cool to see, other than seeing a driver go into the dirt like that, having a pretty decent contact. So yeah, look at that. I mean, Field pushing it, and Brutsky just trying to keep pace throughout it. But I think we'll probably get another replay or two on that. The only thing I want to see is just where Matt Field is really entering on that zone. So he gets the initiation going, and then we get a little bit of an e-brake pull, but he gets into that zone early and just gets it planted. And unfortunately, Brutsky on throttle, not able to make the same grip, doesn't get through. And just like that, Justin Smash lives up to his name.
Smash.
Yeah.
Justin Smash. All right, not Hulk.
Not Hulk Smash.
Nope. All right, we'll see if The drone will live on. He's got a few, so no big deal. But taking a look at this again, Barutsky, just that dirt, that wheel just digs in like a shovel, and it's just not going to go anywhere. So Matt working with it. Barutsky get blinded by smoke. Boom, just grabs.
There's the drone. Oh, top left. Takes a dirt clod right to the.
Oh,
right
look, it hit Barutsky.
Oh,
it bounced once, twice off the back. Just taking a look at that drone angle. That was pretty.
So much carnage.
Taking that highlight reel. So.
It's not often we get to see Justin smash, you know, like that. It's usually from his perspective.
Smashing that shot, but the drone got smashed in this case. But it looks like Barutsky, yeah, and we are seeing that throat chop here for the boring.ride on Instagram, a private car collection. So Barutsky.
Yeah, tough go. I mean, when you have a driver like a Matt Field out front, you know you got to push hard. You know he's going to throw big in that. And, yeah, there's the cleanup there from Mr. Smash.
Okay, so we'll unfortunately pull Barutsky off. This will be a bye run for Matt Field, and he will continue on. So more than halfway through our top 32. Everybody tuning in. We got Eric, the Valdez family tuning in from Texas, and we'll clean this up and we'll continue with the action, but let's take a look at a different perspective. Kevin's corner, Kevin Wells. All right, this is Matt Field's bye run, and this is a confidence booster for him. So Matt Field will be going against Forsberg or Hansen, the winner in the next battle.
Yeah, and every lap that you can get in right now, especially as the track temps change and everything, you know, the other part too is he's getting that lap after burning the first set of tires. So this is a good way to really understand where the track's at. And Matt Field's going to use every opportunity he can, throw on a bit of a show for the fans, and know that we're going to see him at the opening ceremonies.
The United States Air Force opening ceremonies. We have a halftime break between the 32 and the 16, and Matt Field advances on. So kind of the usual suspects. We have yet to see James Dean and Adam LZ are 1, 2, and 3, but or excuse me, I take that back. Adam LZ is already in because of his bye run, so I apologize. Adam LZ will be in the top 16. Tommy Lemaire. You have that of Trenton Beecham, Jack Shanahan, Connor O'Sullivan, and there is Connor Shanahan.
Yeah, so back to our one more time here between him and D-Mads. So chatting with the judges about it, they basically just said, clean it up a little, boys.
Yeah,
you know, you can do it.
Yeah, both had good parts of it, but like I said, don't leave it in the judges' hands. That's what is always a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, you want to win pretty definitively. If they've got a debate over if it comes up to a side-by-side, and I think that's when drivers start to get nervous.
But that seems to be the trend for us, and that's why we really force the judges to have a decision. We would like to reward a one more time as opposed to rewarding kind of like, you guys both were not great, let's see it again. We want to say like, that was so good, let's see it again and really rise to the occasion. So we'll see if Jared Madison can do it right now. Now Silver's Coilover Depot, S-chassis transition. Oh, look at Connor. All right, well, he says here, I'll watch this transition. So you talked about Jack having that kind of back off. That wasn't the case there. That was more of a similar to his older brother now in his last outside zone. You can see him, looks like D-Mads hit a little beehive there. You saw the hands swinging away at the wheel. So he just feeding the wheel, getting it across the finish line. So we'll see what the judges think. Obviously, that's D-Mads leading. Now Connor will lead. Yeah,
both drivers really stepping it up on this one. Looks like Derek made some big improvements on the lead, and Connor in the chase, obviously having a much closer proximity than what we saw before. So out of the gates into our initiation, 3-2-1 line, and there's Derek right there. Now Connor does a good job of mirroring throughout that, and then uses that opportunity, as Jared said, to dive in through outside zone 2, and then there he is, just kind of locked in, doing a great job of mirroring all the way through. And then Derek through outside zone 4, gets that car lit off, and there's Connor throughout it. So pretty solid run from both drivers. Now that we swap it around, it's going to be a big task there for Derek to kind of put on that show in the chase that's going to mirror or do better than what we saw from Connor. And for Connor, I mean, really, that was a great lead from Derek. Yeah. It's going to have to be pretty much picture perfect to be able to take the win. We're going to be stuck doing one more times until it's dark.
Hey, you know what? I'm stoked for Connor Shanahan working this car out. You know, this is the freshman season for that vehicle. By no means is Connor new to drifting. Had an opportunity to hang out with him at Goodwood Festival Speed. He had some great things to say about series driving and all of it, and he's a great young man. Here goes Connor Shanahan, filling all of that outside zone 1, and there it is in outside zone 2. D-Matt shutting her down as Justin Smash finds another drone and puts it right to the side of the... Oh no, what do we got here? It looks like, is he going to power through this last outside zone? And Connor finishes it. What were you oohing about? The little BB there.
There it is.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Tire held on loosely and didn't let go by the rubber of his teeth. And the tire says, I'm out of here, I quit.
Yeah, that is...
Smash, you got to go through the tire. You won't.
No. He might call him out on that one, but yeah, really interesting turn of events there. So I'm curious if maybe there was some sort of contact, if something happened with Derek, and that's why I got shut down. Did that create the DB? So many things happened in quick succession. And let's see what we've got with our airforce.com replay. So good initiation there from Connor. And then Derek, I mean, in tow, a little bit shallower throughout that second outside zone. Great job through there. But Derek, yeah, completely shuts it down. Nothing happened. But really what we want to see is where did that...
that tap.
That looked like the wheel exploded on the wall, is what I'm thinking. He got into the wall just a little bit, but holds that.
Yeah, baby, that was good.
Yeah. Wow. So that's what it is. And this is one of the tough things with this car in particular is there's not a lot of room at the back end. So if you're getting close to that wall, that wheel is going to make contact, right? There, that hit. And really from our other angles, it didn't even look that bad. But then we
all
get
the
that
shrapnel spray up,
yeah.
with the white shrapnel, and to your point, that very well might have hit that tire, and then just, that K-rail that kicks out at the bottom. And
oh, he's thinking about it here. Look at Smash is looking.
That was earlier. I said go through it, you won't.
Yeah, but yeah, there it is. Just that contact right there. That's it. But he's able to finish this run, albeit with one tire barely holding on. So 2 big stories out of this. Derek Madison shutting it down, and Connor Shanahan losing a tire.
Yep. All right. So do we have a result here? It was the one more time battle of Shanahan and Madison. Slide him left for Madison or right for Connor Shanahan. Even with the songs of the tire leaving his vehicle, Madison shutting down early, and Connor continued on through pace. So Connor Shanahan will get a little bit of assistance here, that back left corner. They're gonna have some time between now and 16, so it's a good opportunity to work out the kinks and make sure the car is up to snuff. So a few more battles left, almost 3/4 of the way through. We got 3, 4, 5 battles left. Overall, let's take a look at the bracket. You can see the yellow names, that's who's advancing on, but still on deck. I'm going to rattle off these names. Chris Forsberg versus Hansen, James Dean versus Federico Sharifo on his Ferrari, Simon Olsen versus Ryan Turk, Odi Bakshis versus Andy Haitley, and RCP, Rome Charpentier versus Rad Dan Burkett.
Yeah, lots of great action still to go on, and really setting us up for an incredibly interesting top 16. So it's gonna be good. We got a full day of awesome battles.
Yeah, it's really good. And keep in mind that later on in the day, and we saw this with Prospect, the temperatures drop. Didn't change it too much, which is nice, because kind of the ambiance temperature, the ambient temperature was just really chilled. So as Connor Shanahan gets towed off, let's throw it down to the other Shanahan bro, who's with Lorette Nickel. Congrats, first and foremost, to Jack.
We are having a seat because it is so hot that we are trying to stay cool. Jack Shanahan, we were talking a little earlier today about how hectic the run-up was to your top 32 battle. Tell everyone what you were dealing with.
Yeah, so obviously since the get-go this weekend, we've been struggling with a boost issue with the car, and then we finally got all that sorted, and then my last lap of practice, I was literally the last car of practice. We flicked in, and car felt a bit weird. Done the first transition, it kind of like jumped and bobbled and stuff, and I just kind of shut it down, got towed back to the pits, and we actually broke a bolt in the Y-sub arm, so damaged the hub, the bolt, the arm, and we had to rush to get all that done because we only had about 5 minutes to get ready to go to the start line. And yeah, we then got to the start line, I pulled up, Castro pulled up, we just got waved through. We were lucky we both didn't have to call a 5-minute rule basically, so we were both kind of stressing, putting on our gear in the burnout box, and then went out for the run, and my boost controller wires decided to pull out of the plug basically, so we only had like the least amount of power that the engine will make. So yeah, not amazing, but we kind of just kept the shoe in it. We said, you know, we have no other choice now, but it was kind of do or die. And yeah, we were lucky we got the win. So yeah, very good.
So stress and low power, and he takes the win. Well done, Jack.
Okay, so Connor Shanahan, the other Shanahan, the younger brother, getting towed off, but they're both in the top 16. That is absolutely fantastic. Justin Smash was getting the shot, and again, he is our FPV pilot, always goes in, sacrifices it for the shot. Here we go, bang, and pow! Looked like something from Star Wars. Shot down, they came from behind. Hold, and you can see right there, Justin Smash in the drone, top left corner, bang, dirt clod. Down goes Smash into the windshield of Dmitry Brutsky, bounces off, but you know, he's got other drones for one. Don't know if that's gonna fight back, but yeah. Shot, Justin.
I think that's it. We'll have a little memorial for it somewhere in the infield later on.
In the driver intro.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, remembering drone 6.
R.I.P. to old Blinky.
Yeah, old Blinky.
All right, there it is, getting towed off.
Yeah.
Mara Luck getting a little assistance there. And there is Rudy Hansen, the Team Hansen TH, Shelly Hansen competing in the Pro Spec Championship. And Rudy here, Shelly in the ear of her husband, going against Krista Forsberg. Forsberg, originally from PA, now living in Southern California. He is an OG since 2004, 3-time champion.
Yeah, we're doing some stats. We realized that Forsberg has battled 114 drivers in his career.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
And I loved your stat. How many drivers have total from day one?
Drivers that have qualified for an event, just about 300. It's like 296.
All right, well, Chris Forsberg is one of them, as is Rudy Hansen, obviously. Here we go, Chris Forsberg in that first outside zone, the all-new NOS Energy Drink Nissan Z. Rudy Hansen dives out of the smoke. Forsberg into that second outside zone and into the third. Rudy Hansen tucking in nicely, really mimicking the angle of Forsberg in the outside zone 4. Rudy Hansen dives in on the inside. That is not the line you want to be on by Hansen, but Forsberg completes it out properly with a little Neft vodka on the roof.
Yeah, great run there. Sorry, correction, 196, not 296. That's a lot of drivers, but either way, tons and tons of drivers. Forsberg running through, I mean, over half of them, and just a great run here. Really pushing the pace and getting that initiation done. And then Rudy trying to tuck into that first part. Gets a good, I mean, he's doing a good job of mirroring both through that first outside zone and through the transition. And then Chris here gets on the pedal, starts to push. And this is where Rudy makes a bit of a mistimed transition, and it takes in a massive cut through the track in order to get across that finish line. So really, I mean, for Chris, laying down the smoke, putting up the screen, and then when they go to that transition for 4, unfortunately, Rudy just lost track of where he was.
Got the wrong directions.
Yeah.
Got the wrong directions to location.
Took a right at Albuquerque, not a left.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Sometimes, you know, you got to go right to go left. We're not in Jersey right now, no jug handles, but the roundabout.
Yeah.
Look, kids, Big Band Parliament. All right, here we go. It is Rudy Hansen out front, Krista Forsberg in the chase position. Let's see if Hansen can rise to the occasion. He's going to try to force an error at Forsberg because, again, that outside zone 4 by Hansen, he went really shallow on it. And there goes Hansen into outside zone 2. He fills all of it. Chris Forsberg, good proximity. Now coming to outside zone 3. Hansen brings it on in. He is definitely putting down a heater of a lead run. Forsberg slides on. Ooh, Hansen gets involved with the dirt. He straightens out across the finish line. That is going to hurt him. And quickly, the judges tap the, obviously you can see the judging critiquing right there and hitting those tablets, and that will be Krista Forsberg.
Yeah, it was a really solid run there from Rudy. I mean, I'm loving the way that he's been developing and getting more confident, especially in the pro car. Did quite well with the pro spec car, but now that they're on the bigger tires, now the competition's getting more fierce. Takes a little bit getting used to, but Rudy does a good job through the vast majority of this and just tries to really push the pace. Would have liked to have seen him get into angle a little bit earlier before getting into outside zone 4, and it was him not being at angle entering 4. Just had so much speed, and then really what that turns into is him shooting off track, getting into the dirt, and yeah, not a great way to end that run for Rudy Hansen. But fun guy, fun times, fun glasses.
Mushrooms? Fun guy?
Fun guy.
He's pretty fly for a fun guy.
He is.
And there is Krista Forsberg. You make my dreams come true, like Hall & Oates right there. Chris and I went and got Hall & Oates tattoos.
I love them. I love them.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah, no, it's just a great couple's tattoo.
We've been talking about that tattoo for 15 years.
I know. Glad you finally did it.
Yeah, it was great. So, all right. So James the Machine Dean right now, currently sitting second in points. It is a must-win. So here's Frederick Osbo. He's already in the 16. James Dean wins. He gets 10 points richer. He'll move up to 140. Adam LZ, he's already in, so he's going to hold right there. But James could obviously, again, 10 points for every win. So Fiorella is the vehicle. Federico Sciarrifo is the Italian pilot going against James the Machine Dean, the Irish driver, behind the wheel of his Mustang RTR Spec 5 FD. He's changed his livery and his sponsor in the Pennzoil Ultra Platinum Mustang RTR. The stats here, you can see overall matches. Look at that winning percentage, 79% by James the Machine Dean. I mean, he is unarguably best drift in the world. I mean, he has Drift Masters Championships. He has Irish Drift Championship, European Oman. He's got it all. And the only 4-time FD champion. James the Machine Dean throws it on in and uses all the course. Fiorella gets out to that outside zone eventually. Now diving in on the second outside zone. James the Machine Dean into the outside zone 2 and the 3, sticking to it like Velcro. Now into that last outside zone. The Irish pilot brings it on in. I mean, textbook. Absolutely textbook. Guys, you want to see drifting? Like, you know, aliens in the future will look back like, here is drifting. Bang, right there. That's what you get. That was a gift, my friends.
Yeah, it was a great run, and really when the drivers meeting happened this morning, the drivers were asking different questions about how to do different things, and you know, James is used as such an amazing representative example of how to get around this track. And really, I want to give the flowers to Fiorella and Federico Sciarrifo, who's getting this car dialed in. Throughout practice, things look so much more stable, getting through these runs with a lot of style and grace. But I mean, you're up against just an absolute weapon that is James Dean throughout this run. He really is the shining example of how to run this track in so many different ways. So for Federico, it's just not a pairing that's going to be great. It's going to be a tough battle no matter what. But for Federico, does a good job of staying in this fight, getting the angle out on those zones, and just doing everything he can to keep in the battle against that absolutely monstrous Mustang. If you look at Fiorella, is a big car.
Yeah.
And it still kind of looks small against the Mustang.
It definitely rivals it as far as size, but this is just a case of, what would you say, Godzilla versus King Kong here as far as the size of the vehicles. And King Kong is James Dean. Didn't know King Kong was Irish, because he is definitely a beast. But look at that, the Fiorella, the Ferrari going round, and James Dean just bathing in the smoke. Look at him, he's on that right-hand drive. And, I mean, does he need to do that? I don't think so, but he just feels compelled. This gentleman, I feel like he was born with a steering wheel in his hand, and that throws him off. So not exactly the most ideal line for James Dean. He applied the pressure in the second, had to back off in third, and found himself a little bit shorter than Federico Sciarrifo, so kind of forcing some mistakes on his own accord. Yeah,
a little bit, and it is definitely a cause and effect thing that we do need to take a look at here as well. So Federico does a fairly decent job through that first outside zone, transitions a little bit later through the second outside zone, and James really starting to push the pace there, closing up that gap. Well, Federico starts to stretch it after James mistiming a spot to gain proximity, and then through outside zone 4, not too bad, but James really having to take a tighter line through that. So yeah, it was pretty interesting how this all came together, and it's showing how Federico is starting to get this car dialed. He's got a couple new guys on the crew, a couple new voices in his head, kind of giving him some tips and tricks, and it's made a noticeable difference. We mentioned it even through seating and everything else. It's just looks like a different Fede. It's just unfortunate that different Fede is coming up against, you know, the GOAT. So just tough on that one.
All right, there it is, James the Machine Dean and Federico Sciarrifo. Looks like James Dean gets the victory. So congratulations to him as he will advance on.
Yeah.
So congratulations to James the Machine Dean moving on, and that's how it works. So he gained some points with that win, 10 points. And talking about the Shanahans, let's throw it down to Lorette. She had Jack, and now she's got Connor.
It was a feisty moment for Connor. You're dealing with quite a few things happening back here.
Yeah, hard work, a lot of hard work. First battle, to be honest, I just gave him more breathing room than I should have. That's the good thing about drifting these days. Everybody's pushing, you know, everybody's putting in the work. Got caught a little bit off guard, and yeah, had to run it back. And on the start of the lead run, lost the power steering pump somewhere, and I did not think I was going to be able to hold on to it to the finish line, but there's a little bit of will left with this car. Not much, I can tell you that for sure, but I want a carbon trophy, and I hope it happens sooner rather than later. So if I have to drive around the problems, I got to try right now.
Connor, thank you very much.
All right. Well, some great insight there as this gentleman rapping out about their sea house. And congratulations to him and his wife celebrating an anniversary. I know he
nice.
worked on James's camp, and now he was spotted for Federico Sharifo. Might have a little inside communication utilizing, but obviously not enough. Here we go. Simon Olsen here going against Ryan Turk. Simon Olsen in that Mark V Toyota Supra, now transitioning into that second outside zone. Ryan Turk gripping up. We saw him coming shallow in that second outside zone. Simon Olsen filling all of outside zone 3. Want to see how deep he was. There's that angle that we can definitely all appreciate, including the judges, or most importantly the judges. Now across the finish line, slamming up in that transition. The outside zone 2, Turk gripped up. Want to get that overhead view, and Simon really expediting this course. You saw him just hitting those zones very quickly, but want to get that overhead view.
Yeah, really it's the first outside zone that's kind of the definitive moment here. So Simon gets that initiation done, but very shallow through that first outside zone. Tons of speed coming in, and Turk actually transitions really, really early there and doesn't get the car floated out through the second outside zone, and then just has to play catch up. Now, what I do like is that Turk still makes an attempt to get through outside zone 3. He's not completely beelining. He's still trying to, you know, gain some points, if you will, even though that gap is there. So for Simon, first outside zone, pretty shallow, leaves it, transitions, but Turk, his transition was just mistimed, and that forced him to miss all of outside zone 2. But then he does do, he's trying at least. He's getting a wheel just on the edge of that zone through outside zone 3, but really, it's all Olsen out front after that point. So you can't make any, you know, real definitive decisions right now, but it's going to be an interesting one as we swap it around. What's this mean for Turk? It means he's got to lay down an absolute heater, and Simon just has to stay in that battle. So,
all right, what's the 411? The 411 works. Vehicle again, the Rain-X Toyota GR Corolla. Let's see what Ryan Turk can do. We had a great time at Goodwood Festival Speed of this past weekend, and here he comes in, a good angle here. Now we're talking about competitive drifting, not just ripping that 66 stout. Dials into the second. So here is exactly what he needs to do. Ryan Turk placed the car perfectly. Well done, but cannot shake Simon Olsen. Oh, and just as I say that, Simon comes out of the smoke over undershoot, excuse me, that outside zone 4. So we'll take a look. So some mistakes in different places, but Ryan, good lead run. I'd say good lead run on both sides of the lane.
Yeah, and both really have a few spots that kind of need that cleaning up. But really, Turk on that first outside zone looks solid, and then Simon being a little bit shallower. Second outside zone looks really good there from Turk, and Simon now trying to push the pace, gain that proximity, and he gets caught out just a little bit on that transition. When he gets back on throttle, that car bites, shoots him in through, and misses that part of the zone. So for Simon, who seemed to be on a bit of a heater there throughout practice, just not really getting it all together on this. But Turk making those changes, having a great lead run, filling those zones, kind of back to that old Turk in that lead. I mean, looks like he had fun out there again, like big swinging out, pushes out nice and wide, has that tire smoke going the whole time. Maybe just knowing he had those mistakes previously. So both drivers having a few notes to take if they move on, and for the other driver, some notes to take before the next event.
Refinement. That's the buzzword that I can think of for both sides on both camps, and especially going into 16, whoever advances on. So here is our BC Racing side-by-side. So Simon Olsen leading on the left, Ryan Turk leading on the right. So I really kind of want to focus and pay attention to the chase runs here.
Yeah, so for me, Simon didn't really provide an opportunity in the lead for the first outside zone for Turk. And that kind of threw a little bit off there, because we do have to remember the judges really want you to more or less open up that pocket. And then although Turk did lose a lot of proximity and did make that mistake in the second outside zone, he did try in the chase to kind of make up those points and keep a line throughout the other zones. And that, to me, I think it's important. Instead of trying to cut the track out, it's like, okay, I might be further back, but at least I'm still getting that line. Maybe I'm mirroring the angle. I just don't have that proximity. It's those three things you have to play in balance. And for a lot of drivers, they cut the line, they cut the angle to try and gain proximity. And, you know, you get rid of two things out of the three. That's a lot worse, in my opinion, than just getting rid of one.
Yep.
So.
All right, the judges analyzing this one, Ryan Turk. So Ryan Turk and that Toyota GR Corolla. So taking a look, and there's Matt Sopa. Down the line, he is our starter during pro, and then he is my co-host up here in Pro Spec. Jacob, you get to take a little breather.
Yeah. Friday's a nice day for me.
Friday's chill. You get to kind of enjoy it. I've never been and just watched a Formula Drift event.
We can do it if you want. I don't know if you want to like take a break one day, Soap, and I'll take over. Just even a couple runs. I don't know.
Nah, I'm good. Dude.
It'd be weird. I think it'd be strange.
I think it'd be really odd.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. Oh, look at this one more time, and it was not unanimous. So that last one right there with the Colombian, that is Reese Marin. So Reese siding with Simon Olsen, but Turk, I would say maybe even dodged a bullet there. So getting that one more time was definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Fantasy League's cool. Pick up 5 drivers, get some cool boosts that come in and out. You can take a look at the bracket, figure out what your team's going to be. I mean, really can kind of make that final 4 that you think it's going to be. Maybe throw a wild card in there and see what happens. So I paid my picks already. We'll see how I turn out in the Fantasy League. So, yeah. I don't think I'll do that well, but you never know.
There it is. Vote now. Also, your fan favorite. So I'm gonna pull this up and see what this engagement looks like. So again, that's actually tapping into the link FLYPfantasy.com. So be sure to take a look at that.
Yeah. I mean, if you like playing fantasy sports, this is a great way to just get into it. You know, no cost.
I know. Like my buddy Swan and Creature and all those guys. A lot of the homies are doing it at home as it is. So now here's the engine.
I think we all kind of do it. You take a look at the bracket. You start, what if it went like this? I mean,
there's betting pools. I mean, they're like, all right, here. You know, people put $100 at the top of the season, $20 at each round. There's a pool, right? I mean, there's so many different ways to do it. But Formula Drift wants to give you the platform in order to do it.
Yeah.
So here, so we thought we were going to advance on, but it looks like the drivers are ready. They got their fresh rubber underneath their vehicles. So Simon Olsen and Ryan Turk back at it. I would say, you know, I think Ryan made a pretty big mistake there, but they made mistakes in different portions of the track.
Yeah.
And I think, to my point earlier about forcing the judges to make a decision, and also they were both really good runs, but they both had those little mistakes that I believe do warrant a one more time.
Yeah, completely agree. And you know, it's tough too. You got to get out of your head about it and just go back to driving. Go, okay, I did it. I've got another opportunity here, and we've already seen it with a couple of one more times where the next battle is just absolutely epic, and maybe that's what we get here.
I also think it's interesting, Simon Olsen coming into FD, campaigning the Mark V Supra, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't abandon that, but he parks it because he jumps onto Odie Bosch's team. The knowledge that he learned driving for Odie and applying it now to the Supra, I feel like he's a different driver with this marriage of man and machine. So Simon Olsen out front, Ryan Turk drops that back right and looks more Dirt X as opposed to Rain X, that Toyota GR Corolla. Now that second outside zone, he struggles a little bit once again as Simon Olsen fills the second, now into the third, and out of that into the fourth outside zone and bring it across the finish line.
Yeah, very, very similar to what we saw before. As you can see, the team there, a little bit of gasp of what kind of just transpired. And really, it's very, very similar to what we saw before, where in this case, Simon Olsen on the first outside zone gets in with a ton of speed, but then pushes out of that zone a little bit early. And you can see that gets into the zone, and then Turk just kind of overshoots it, gets bathed in smoke, goes to that transition. Once again, missing that second outside zone, cuts that, back on throttle, finds the grip, third outside zone, one tire in. Olsen's way out front, transitions out, and then both drivers do a decent job through outside zone 4. It's a pretty big mirror replay there. So Turk got a little bit aggressive through the first outside zone in the chase, but Simon not as deep as he should have been, leaves that zone early. You know, one of those kind of balance mistakes.
Yep.
But we'll flip things around, see maybe we'll get a different story on this run.
One more time, a battle, the second half of this battle. Ryan Turk will now be out front, Simon Olsen in the chase position, so mistakes there getting disrupted, and that was just absolutely testimonial as we see Mr. Brian Hartsock. He works on the vehicle. He wires a lot of different vehicles there. Definitely a talented young man, Mr. Hartsock. So as Ryan Turk initiates across the nose of that Mark V Supra, the Toyota GR Corolla transitions. Need to see that overhead view. Where was Simon in that smoke? Comes a little unwound there. We saw some contact, but keeps on pace into this last outside zone. How are they going to navigate? Man, that Corolla is kicking off a ton of smoke. Keep in mind, they did change tire manufacturers from last year. This is a freshman season on a new tire manufacturer for him and Freddie on those Kendas, and it's worked out for, you know, it was interesting too. Freddie talked about tires, notably he talked about the front tires, and which got him the win.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge, and having that grippier front tire means that there's a lot of different things that you can do with the car and some confidence that you can get into it, and there's a pretty confident run there from Turk, who just seems to have this continuous thing where he's getting into the zone and kind of V'ing it off. It's not a big curved C. It's got a bit of a spike to it, and we saw that in the chase. We see that a little bit in the lead there from Ryan, but first outside zone leaves a little bit earlier, which puts him on that tighter line, transitions really late, and that's where you get that V, where he's not filling the whole zone, and Simon's got to adapt throughout that whole thing. So it's a little bit better than what we saw previously, but yeah, the amount of smoke that Turk is kicking up is absolutely epic.
Yeah, it is not a judge factor or criteria, but it just shows you the wheel speed, shows you the car just fighting it. And I think this is, and you talk about that V line or the B line coming into it, and then less smooth, or they talk about a J or a C. These cars are gripping up and they're shooting out. You know, they have more side bite than what we saw last night with Prospect. Yeah, so balancing this out, first outside zone on lead, I'd probably give to Turk. I mean, second outside zone, pretty similar, though in this case, Simon's got a better chase. Third outside zone, really Turk's having to fight back through it, and then the separation gets pretty balanced there. So it's going to be a tough one. I don't think it's the way either driver knows how to drive or can drive. It's not maybe the best of their abilities in it, and they're either fighting with something mechanical or in their own heads about it a little bit, because that's the tough part. The battle between the years is so massive in this sport. Well, what's interesting here, too, is requesting them one more time. I would say it was pretty comparable, and I'm going to venture to say maybe even just a little more lacking than the first run. You know, the mistakes seemed that much more grandiose as compared to the first. So, yeah, you know, this is a tough call. If it goes either way, going into the 16, you know, they're going to do battle against James Dean. Right. So, all right. Go to the gym right now. Start sparring with each other, because you know you're going to go against the defending champion, four-time champion, second in points, James the Machine Dean. So yeah, either one of these guys could definitely be a battle against James, or you know, could be a contender against James Dean, but they're gonna have to rise, because we just saw a picture perfect run from James Dean. And look at this, Ryan Turk gets the victory overall, and Ryan Turk gets the win over Simon Olsen, and there it is. So high fives, handshakes. You can see Ryan Turk's team standing up, and as they stand up, Ryan Turk rises to the occasion. So Ryan Turk makes his way back with 2 battles left. And we have Odie Bakshis and Andy Haley, RCP, and Dan Burkett. That 4:11. Here it is, our Formula Drift Judges Review. Reese, down to you.
So we can see here, once we're going to outside zone 1, you can see Simon leaves outside zone 1 early. The hit happens with Ryan Turk, messes him up. That's what we see, the error going there in the chase. We do see that Ryan does hit the wall as well too. Comparably, when we put those two together, you see that Simon just does a huge error, throws Ryan completely off. The rest of the run is comparable as well too, but the biggest deficit was outside zone 1. Simon gets on throttle late, leaves outside zone 1 early, and that's the reason the Turk got into him, messed up his whole entire run, and we ended up going with the win, Ryan Turk.
Okay, so more of a cause and effect there with Simon's, you know, lead not amazing. Turk did what he could with what he had.
Yeah, he was right where he needed to be, and if Simon would have stayed longer in outside zone 1, we believe we wouldn't have had that contact, but we did, and the domino effect took place.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the insight on that. Always learning something every day.
Yeah, and it's just that. So Ryan Turk, he's going to need to really tighten it up. You know, again, going against James Dean, he's definitely a contender. He has it. He knows he has it. Just one of the most nerve-wracking battles is top 32. So as we move on here in our Rockstar entering top 32, Odie Bakshis. Whoa, buddy! That was a 2-wheel motion. The dirt grabbed his car, threw it up. That thing looked like he was just about to set sail. And the Evil AutoWorks BMW, that was absolutely insane. That car is slamming down on its field suspension. And keep in mind, Andy Haley did not need to complete the run, but Odie Bakshi's a very talented driver, goes off course, rips up, throws it on two wheels, slams down. That was unreal.
Yeah, that is not a representation of what Odie's driving is like. So we get back to our replay here. I'm really interested to see how this all came together. So Odie threw it always fast, has such a good launch, but yeah, just a little wide, just goes wide. That's all there is to it. I don't know if, you know, you kind of always want to think like, oh, maybe something else happened that caused it, but he didn't really get the tires lit off.
Man.
So I don't know. I don't want to make an assumption and say maybe something else happened before the incident, but the tires didn't really get lit off. He didn't really have the angle into it. He had tons of speed going in. Look at e-brake, starts to get the wheels spinning, but just usually the guy, there's full of smoke there.
Yeah.
There's usually a ton of smoke before they even get to that point. And for Odie, that just didn't happen. So super strange as that car taking a big bit of damage.
Limping his way back, and this is a season where Odie Bakshi's really focused on his program. You know, previous years he's campaigned another vehicle along his side in Pro Spec. Again, Simon Olsen, you know, campaigned his vehicle the last couple of years, and now it was just him. Him and his team. He's brought in Justin Pollock as a spotter. Amy's contributing still as well. Talking about his wife, she's won Spotter of the Year multiple times. Very talented, very intelligent, and you know, obviously that communication level is very high from household to racetrack. But with that carbon Kevlar kit being thrashed up, I assume that's going to be all she wrote, and that is it. So very, very unfortunate for Odie Bakshi's. You don't want to lose that way. But I think you're right, Jacob. You spotted that smoke or lack thereof and not getting it lit going into that first outside zone. So very unfortunate, but you know who's stoked right now? Again, you don't want to win, but a win is a win. As we clear up the track, get the dirt, get the tire debris, the carbon Kevlar, all of it. Andy Haley will get the win, and this is going to be a bye run for him.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of luck that's involved with this as well, and sometimes you get that little bit of luck. You know, you get to make it into that top 16 ceremony, you get to hear your name and the fans cheer, and that can build up some more of that momentum, and then you have a really good run through the rest of the event. So maybe just that little bit of luck for Andy Haley is what he's going to need to start pushing through. And I mean, his next battle will be either Rome or Dan, so won't be easy either way. But yeah, let's see. So this looks good. Already got the tire smoke going. Grabs the e-brake to get the car settled. Gets back on throttle, and the car just doesn't bite. And then, yeah, wow. You can see just how much energy goes through that car to bring that corner up. And
like
good
all
job.
3 wheels. I think just the dirt wheel was touching the ground.
Yeah, almost a pirouette at that point. And good job for Andy Haley for being aware and doing that. Can feel that.
You could just read it. The body language is painfully obvious.
You think about everything they go through just to show up to these events, and then they go through practice, and they you know, things break, and they put in all the work, and then all of that leads up to one run, and you make a couple 100 feet down the go, and hit the dirt, chuck the car, and that's it, all that work.
What did I say right before their battle? I said top 32 is one of the most nerve-wracking battles. And this is why, because it could just go south so quickly and not make it in top 16. Because once you make it through 32, not only, it's not just about the driver intro and all that, but you know, it's not the driver intro, it's just the advancement, it's the confidence booster, it's moving on. So we have one more battle left, but let's throw it down to Lorette Nickel. Lorette, we're feeling it. We're feeling the emotions up for him up here in the booth.
I know you're taking stock of everything that just happened. What are you processing at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fine line. There's pieces of the track missing there, and I went probably to ride the outside line, which is something that can't happen with the condition of the track right now, and it just grabbed the tire and pulled it right off the wheel, and it sucked me into the off the track. So yeah, I'm absolutely gutted. We were in a position to, I felt like, win the whole event. The practice was going really well. And just, you know, there's a very long time. I sat in the car before this battle. There was a commercial break, then one more time, and I think I just, pushed it just a little too hard. Lost maybe a little bit of muscle memory, but at the same time, the visuals seemed fine. So it's just, the track is tricky when there's a little bit of concrete missing there. So, yeah, just absolutely gutted. I'm so sad for the team, for my family back at home, for everyone, because this is a huge blow with points.
Odie, thanks for speaking with us. Jared.
Just looking at it at speed at 100%, it looks violent. I mean, it looks, again, we always reference skateboard tricks. You just said an impossible there, Jacob. I'm feeling for him. We're all bummed for him. Andy Haley sits and waits, and he talked about it, sitting, waiting, commercial break, this, that. That's going to potentially happen. When it's go time, you got to be on. And like you said, I mean, look at that, taking evidence back, looking more like Jurassic Park, and kind of an adventurer right there. What do they call it when you dig for bones?
Archaeologist.
Yeah. So he looks more of an archaeologist than he does a drifter right now. Digging for treasure.
Yeah, this is how it goes, though. You've got to meter your approach coming into it. As he said, he wanted to go for that full wide line, and. Yep. This, the difference between what just happened to him and potentially winning this battle is a couple of inches. That's really it, because, you get on the throttle a fraction of a second, a thousandth of a second earlier, and you dig out of that, and then a little bit late, that's what ends up happening. But let's, keep things rolling. Top 16, this is how things are coming together.
One more battle left, or we have a bye run and then a battle, but LZ and TLO on that left-hand side. Trenton Beecham versus Jack Shanahan. Connor O'Sullivan versus Jeff Jones. Manoa versus Dylan Hughes. That should be a fun one. Frederick Osbo versus Connor Shanahan. You got Matt Field versus Chris Forsberg, two homies. They're going to be repping that Neft vodka. And then you got James Dean versus Ryan Turk. And then now Andy Haley versus RCP or Dan Burkett. That will be our final battle. So there is Andy Haley in the Evil AutoWorks BMW, the Drift Wizard, with some sorcery. Maybe put a spell on Odie Bakshis and harness the power of the dirt to come up and grab him by the wheel. But Andy Haley will get the victory after a bye run. One more battle, RCP, Rome Charpentier versus Rad Dan Burkett.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this battle as well, between both of them. Brad Dan just getting things together. It seems like he's in a different mindset. He's driving quite well, and for Rome, I mean, a lot on the line here as well. And yeah, just needs to do that. But as we take a look at these updated standings, that is where Odie is going to sit, and everybody around him is going to be moving up. So tough go for that championship race. Not over for him. No. By no means is it over for him. Yeah. But it does get a little bit tougher.
After this, 3 more rounds. We are at round 5 of 8. After this, we got Seattle, we got Utah in chronological order, and then eventually LB2, Long Beach 2, and a fellow New Hampshire gentleman and gal. So talking about them, they're both from New Hampshire, down to you, Lorette.
Yeah, from the Granite State, and Ryan Turk and James Dean are having a conversation. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. James coming over to congratulate Ryan, and they're going to be matching up in the next battle. And Ryan, it was a weird one for you, and some things you're going to reset and do differently for top 16 battle.
Yeah, that was just. I was just talking to Simon about it. I can't believe it was judged that way. I totally understand, because from a driver perspective, how they judged it is exactly how I felt in the car. So I feel like we did get very lucky with how that was called. But I mean, Simon's a great driver. I knew he was going to be tough, and for a top 32 battle, these never get any easier. And yeah, we'll just take it, try to keep the momentum going, and clean up my lead lap a little bit. That second one had a couple mistakes, and just try to go back to what my the first battle's lead lap was, which was for me, that was probably my best lap of the weekend so far.
So best lap of the weekend, and we're looking for more momentum. Ryan Turk moving into top 16.
And Ryan said it, I think we were just talking about, he said it very honestly. He says, this is the way it's judged, this is criteria, hats off to Simon, this is the way it went, I'm stoked. So here we go, one more battle left, RCP and Rad Dan Burkett. Whoa, wrong turn there for RCP. Dan Burkett going for it. Oh, what is happening? Hey, final battle and final push, literally. These guys are going for it.
That's
heads are falling off.
That was interesting. That was, I really need to see the replay because at first glance, it just looked like Rome over-rotated, drove off track. But was there some sort of contact? Because Dan was coming up pretty quick. So let's see. Rome there, and then, yeah, big dive, body check. And Rome, it looks like Rome's trying to throttle out of it to keep things going. And it ends up pushing him off track. So the next question is, where did Rome initiate? Is Dan coming in too hot? Did Rome slow down too much? Initiates.
Didn't look like he was offline. It looked like he was getting them lit.
So did Rome get back on throttle at the right time, or did Dan come through? And this is one of those scenarios that drivers were asking about in the drivers meeting to get some clarity on. And of course, it ends up coming up in battle. So we're gonna need to, to kind of understand how this all plays out, because that was really, really interesting as we take a look here at that track map where that first outside zone is. So there is gonna be a momentum change on that initiation, but ultimately judges looking for the drivers to get back on throttle before outside zone 1. If you are doing a decel as well, you're already at angle. So let's see, this is where it is quite bright out, but let's see if we can spot anything on the decel lights. So we're seeing, I mean, Dan is coming in hot, that is for sure. Rome gets that car out to angle. See that e-brake pull. Rome is back on throttle there before the first outside zone, but Dan is still coming at him hot. Yeah, so that's how that ends up playing out. Now, Rome, Dan's still kind of in the side of it. I don't think he was pushing him at that point, but either way, Rome is trying to throttle the car out. So that contact looks like it happens into the first outside zone, but from first glance, at least from my side, it does look like Rome is back on throttle through that from our previous camera angle from that slow-mo. So it's a lot going on with that scenario.
And comp timeout?
Question mark?
I mean, Dan Burkett's just going for it. Take a licking and keep on ticking.
So where this comes into play is the judges will have to deem it who's at fault, and that will then dictate how the timeouts may be used. So the driver that is at fault has to call his comp timeout. The driver who is not at fault is given that 10 and could potentially call another 5 on top of it, giving him a lot of time to get the car fixed. Now, fingers crossed we don't have to go 15 minutes because this is our last battle of the top 32. But we'll see what these drivers want to do and see what the judges think of who is at fault in that incident.
So Dan Burkett is at fault. We are hearing from the judges. So Dan Burkett, he was in the chase position. He is at fault. So as you just elaborate further there for you, Jacob, Dan Burkett, if he wants to get hands on the car, inspect the vehicle, he would need to call his competition timeout. And RCP, Rome Charpentier, is allowed a complimentary 10-minute assessment of his vehicle and would not have to utilize his competition timeout. So here's another look at it. So RCP, Rome Charpentier, and the BMW leading. So initiates, lights up, doesn't look like he's off, doesn't look like he's slowing too much.
Yeah.
And Dan Burkett gives him a little hip check and sends him.
They want to make sure that Rome is on throttle before the contact, which in this case he was. He was on throttle before he even gets into the first outside zone. Dan just has a really a high closing rate, a differential in speed. He's getting in there pretty quick as we're seeing Rome now going back out to the hot pits.
Yep.
I can't quite tell if the car is just bouncing around or if that's just the way the pavement is out there, but either way, taking a look at it, it was a pretty good knock. Dan, in this case, would need to call his comp timeout. So,
yeah, Dan, so the guys are trying to make the tire as long as possible without it falling out, obviously, and try to get me at least both of them pointed kind of straight or at least forward a little bit.
This is kind of a last ditch. All right, so that's his we'll take a short break. The old makeshift bubblegum zip tie race tape kind of deal. So Rad Dan sitting on line, always great looking cars, good liveries, good all that. But
yeah,
right now, I sense a bit of frustration in his camp.
Yeah, of course, it's going to happen, and really, for the spotters, for the teams, for the crew, you're always going to fight for your driver, right? You're going to fight for every little bit, any kind of advantage you can get, and you're going to be like, hey, what about this? What about that? So, lots of people sharing their opinions, sharing their thoughts on this, using past precedent, things like that, because this is a team sport. this is very much a team sport, and that is not just the mechanics, that is the spotters, that is everybody going like, okay, what about this scenario? Why is this going that way? You know, so cool to see. Lots of fun behind the scenes. Yeah.
And technology is our friend. I mean, if you think back to 2004 to 2025, technology is our friend. Now, this has been accumulated data that we're going to have Reese Marin elaborate on. So I'm just going to throw it down to you, Reese. What are we looking at here as far as momentum, decel, and this outside zone 4?
Yeah, so in the driver's packet, we definitely put out there that you can see that there is a small momentum change in outside zone 1 prior to going into it, outside zone 2, and then you can see in outside zone 4 as well too. The reason we have this up is because, you know, we do understand that some people think, oh, well, there's a little bit of slowing down or there was a momentum change in certain areas. As you can see here, especially in that last battle, we were definitely trying to see, was there anything like that? We did see that Rome was setting up his car, which he was allowed to do that going prior into outside zone 1. So that's why there could have been a little bit of what some people would have thought was a decel, or there was a settling movement there. So this is just to kind of give clarity that we are aware that, you know, they are going to have maybe a momentum variance going into particular these zones. This is the map that shows that, so then this way you can be on the same page with us.
And again, that is denoted by you can see those red lines, you know, obviously going to that last outside zone 4, that was the thickest of them all compared to going into 1 and 2. But that's, again, that decel area. So, all right, we are 15 battles thoroughly completed, or I should say 15 and a half at this point, because we saw the first portion of that. We saw RCP lead, Rome Charpentier, Dan Burkett go in, contact was made. The judges decided that Dan Burkett was at fault. RCP talked about the modifications courtesy of the Supra getting in the side of him and now working the vehicle out. So we have a half a battle left if we get a decider on that and who advances on, but forging our top 16.
Yeah, it's interesting, and really the mental game now of Dan. Can he get himself into a good place? Can he, you know, you're going to be heated. Whenever you're deemed at fault for something, you're going to get a little heated. You know, he's got to keep himself calm, get himself composed, get ready to go back in this battle, more or less forget what just happened, run his run, do the best he absolutely can, and hopefully something else strange happens that puts it, you know, in his favor.
Force an error out in the back position of RCP. He's going to put down a solid lead run. The attitude of Dan Burkett and his lovely wife Renee, you know, they're now living in Florida. They've really focused and doubled down on Rad Industries and building a lot of different parts and things. I mean, he's definitely a busy gentleman in a busy camp, and it's great to see, you know, he took that season off. He's come back, I feel like, reinvigorated.
Yeah.
Definitely has a lot of fan base, you know, internationally. I go and talk to a lot of different drifting fans, and you know, it's always great to hear, like, you know, I love RCP, or I love Dan Burkett. It's always great when you hear different competitors. You know, it's not like, all right, James Dean.
Yeah.
You know, like, obviously, no offense to James, but it's an easy one. You know, he's 4-time champ, the only 4-time champ, defending champion. But when you get just these other drivers, I like Rad Dan.
Yeah, and Dan's done a lot for the industry. He's developing a lot of really unique parts specific to drifting, the 2J platform. A lot of the work he's done with the Mark IV Supra. He's not just competing, but he's developing and making the sport even better from even the level of nuts and bolts.
And RCP, a busy man as well, going over to Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and he's again, a lot of these drivers really give back, almost like a drifter philanthropy. All right, here we go. Rad Dan Burkett initiating in his first outside zone, that Mark IV Toyota Supra. Good, clean initiation, just really turning on the smoke machine into the second outside zone. So RCP brings it on in. He's back there quite a bit, so he is definitely fighting those banged up gremlins underneath the vehicle. Now coming to last outside zone 4, really almost tapping that wall, putting down one solid lead run. Is that enough? RCP back there quite a bit. If Rome Charpentier does make it through, he has some time to work on his vehicle before top 32. Local time is 5:30, and we're back here with our United States Air Force opening ceremony, not until later here in the evening. But let's take a look at it here again, Jacob.
Yeah, Rad Dan, I mean, he has calmed himself down. There's not a lot of big mistakes throughout this run. Does a pretty good job there through the first outside zone. Leaves a little bit early, gets that transition done just before he gets into the second outside zone, while really Rome very much playing it safe back there. He's leaving a lot on the table. Now, having a car that's broken like that, having to try and just get some sort of alignment that makes sense, not easy. Does not make the car easy to drive, and can tell by him, you know, initiating pretty late in there and just getting the car through the run, while Rad Dan out front throws down a solid run. And that's the part that kind of hurts, is that Dan is putting down a great lead run here, and if things don't go his way, it's such a missed opportunity because of a mistake by not getting that speed right on initiation on a previous one. So Rome limping it through, and really for Dan, it was a great run, and yeah, whatever happens here, it's just unfortunate.
Right out of the gate too.
Yeah.
It wasn't outside zone 4. It wasn't, so just that contact really disrupting the flow of the run as we get that overhead view once again. This is second run, so this is Rad Dan initiated. Look at Rome. I mean, really failure to launch. He is fighting that car. He is trying to hold on, and to be honest, it might be enough.
I don't know. There's a couple things that I was looking at with the chase. Is when he actually initiated and how far back he was. Like, the term inactive chase is a tough one. It's kind of a term that holds a lot of weight and not one you very much want to apply. But for Rome, that car is not in great shape. Him just getting around the track, in my mind, is a bit of a win. He did leave some time on the table as well, and they made the decision to try and just repair instead of replace. So, yeah, interesting. We're getting a side-by-side on this. I mean, I might, either way, we got some dinner coming up, so I'm gonna have a long conversation with the judges on this one. But yeah, just the overhead view tells a lot of the tales, because Rome does get through this run, but it's not ideal, to say the least. So yeah, it's really interesting how this all came about, because really Rome just need to kind of throw that run together, put something on the board in order to get through. So
talking about breaking cars, well, breaking bread here. If whatever, regardless of what scenario comes out of this, Rad Dan, you know, I would say at maximum it would go one more time or Rome. I don't think Dan would get the victory here. Dan is hopefully kind of best case scenario praying for one more time. Yeah,
and really judges, you know, looking at that initiation to see if that car, you know, did initiate, because if not, that's pretty big on the behalf of Rome. So just a interesting way to potentially be wrapping up top 32 here today.
And it never fails. I was like, oh, cool. We have our second to last battle. And usually something happens on the second to last, but it didn't. But now it happened in the last battle. So look at, I mean, we are really routinizing, fine-tooth comb, like Spaceballs, comb in the desert.
It's the late initiation they're looking for on Rome, because you have those giant 3-2-1 lines there, and the driver needs to be initiated by that one line. So it becomes a question of, did Rome get the car to angle? Is he drifting by that final line? And it's strange, because the car starts to come into angle, but there's not a lot of tire smoke. He really slow rolled into it. And you can see the judges here now scrutinizing this. They're really digging in, taking a look at those replays and trying to understand how this all played out, while we all sit and wait to understand what is going to happen here in top 32 and how that is going to form our top 16 after our break.
Yeah. I mean, we got nowhere else to go.
No.
Got nowhere else to go, and we have some time. I mean, our national anthem opening ceremonies isn't for another 2 hours and 15 minutes.
All right, so where does drifting begin? It does, from that angle, it looks a lot more like Rome is getting the car out. There are some angles that look maybe less definitive, so it's yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. So let's take a look at Rome's car. 3, 2, and it, yeah. It is really rough. It's splitting hairs, man. It's splitting, you know, 1/16 of an inch at this point, but it is a tough one.
Okay.
I couldn't imagine sitting in those cars right now. I mean, Dan hoping, wishing that something's going on, and Rome trying to understand why it's taking this long.
And here it is. So Rome Charpentier gets 1 vote, 2 votes, and 3 votes. And we've seen plenty of replays. So at this time, I'm going to throw it down to Reese. He requested to elaborate on this, and rightfully so. Reese.
Just to elaborate here, like, we did see the hit on the first half of the battle. What we were definitely doing the replays on to try to get clarity is, did Rome initiate by the first line? After we reviewed it quite a few times, he just barely initiated right when he needed to. We were just trying to make sure, because if not, we would have ended up running it back again. But we did as much as we could on the replays to definitely get an answer, and Rome did initiate just barely in time in order to keep it all legit and avoid from having that not initiation rule hit him in the head.
Wow. I mean, that's a bold and smart play in some ways, but it almost bit him.
Yep. All right, so there we have it. Our 32 has come to a completion, and there is our top 16. So Adam LZ, so, you know, coming into this round of competition, the 1, 2, and 3 was Frederick Osbo, James Dean, Adam LZ. Adam LZ had a bye run in 32, so we have not seen him go head-to-head just yet, but LZ, will see him in top 16. He'll be going against TLO, Tommy Lemaire, a rookie. You got Trenton Beecham versus Shanahan, Connor O'Sullivan versus Jeff Jones. You got Hiroya Manoa, who knows this track, loves this track. This is where he gained a lot of attention, going against Dylan Hughes. Then on the other side of the bracket, Frederick Osbo, who leads the championship. He'll be going against Connor Shanahan, who seems to be rising to the occasion. You got Matt Field versus Chris Forsberg, the OG. And then you got James the Machine Dean, currently in second, again, defending champion, going against Ryan Turk, who narrowly got that victory over Simon Olsen. Then you got Andy Haley, who got handed the victory after Odie Bakshis unfortunately got gutted, hit the dirt, jumped up on 3 wheels in the air. It was sensational, made the highlight reel, but does not advance on. And then finally, here we are, RCP taking out Dan Burkett. So we'll see you guys in a few.